Item 8A, discussion items, presentation from the Humane Society of the North Bay on PB8 activities.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. My name is Katie Kogut. I'm a new board member at Humane Society of the North Bay. Some of you may know Joe.
Hi,
Joe
everyone.
Hayden.
Joseph Hayden. I'm the current president of the board of the Humane Society of the North Bay, and we are volunteers.
Indeed we are. All right. So we're here to talk to you about the Animals Matter project that was funded by participatory budget in the PB8 cycle. And we want to, basically this is a spay-neuter voucher program for the people of Vallejo. It also includes microchips for animals and vaccines for animals. But I'm going to talk primarily about the spay-neuter crisis. And in terms of the national context, nationally we were very good on spay-neuters right up until the point of the pandemic. With social distancing, et cetera, the number of procedures done across the country and locally went down quite a bit. And even though procedure numbers have gone back up, it's never been enough to catch up with the extra puppies and kittens that were born during that time frame. Sorry, the top of my slides isn't showing. But now we have sort of a compounding problem across the nation, but it applies to Solano County as well. With the pandemic lag having created a backlog that clinics can't clear without increasing staffing levels, we've got a workforce gap. The number of the capacity at veterinary training schools has not particularly increased, and we know it's a really, really hard career. And then inflation has pushed the price of procedures up to quite a high amount.
Can you speak closer to the microphone?
Sure, I'm so sorry.
Perfect.
So a study done by veterinary medical doctors in Florida found that nationally 3.7 million intended spay-neuter surgeries had been missed by June 2023 due to the impact of the pandemic. And it's really destabilized the pet overpopulation problem around the country. And it's had a real impact on shelters like ours because we have many more puppies and kittens coming in, just many more pets than we would have had if spay and neuter had been consistent throughout the pandemic. And this has real impacts. It has real impacts for people who are pet owners. And I've done a little feedback survey with people who have received the vouchers through our program and asked them about some of the financial and emotional stressors that they were experiencing in the period that they couldn't afford spay-neuter.
Yeah, Commissioner Herrera mentioned the mental health, and everyone knows that having a pet is life extending. Mm-hmm. So this is a good example of some of that.
Absolutely. So there are, several levels to this. Of course, there are financial stressors. Being low income, $485 was a lot to pay out of pocket. Finding places locally that would help was so hard. Let me say that even $485 is a relatively low price. When I first moved to Solano County, I was quoted like $1,200 to spay my kitten. It's like this, how can this be? So it's stressful for people to think about while also having other life problems. And for this last person with this quote, she was actually in the position of she had 2 dogs. She was moving in with her mom, who had a female dog, unspayed, and the mom said, you cannot bring 2 unneutered male dogs into my home. So she was looking at what she figured she could do is she could pay to neuter 1 dog on her credit card and take on that debt, but then the other she was going to relinquish to the shelter. And we said, well, if we could help you with neutering your dogs
With PB8,
with PB8, would that help you? And she said, oh my gosh, yes, because that would allow me to keep both of my dogs and not go into debt. Some aspects of this, frankly, I wasn't even aware of the stresses that people are facing when they can't spay and neuter their pets. We had one woman who came to us who had 2 large dogs, and they were getting so aggressive with each other unneutered that she was getting bitten trying to break up their fights. And when she was able to have them neutered, they've been much more mellow afterwards, so it's a calmer household. We hear other, dogs.
Another example is we have dogs that are surrendered because they're unneutered and then they're spraying in the house more. And neutered dogs obviously don't spray as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Another woman talks about basically, having to face kind of social isolation because she can't leave her dogs home alone because she has an unspayed female and a male. She needs to be there watching them all the time. And then people really, experience anxiety and depression and a sense of failure for not being able to afford this necessary care for their pets. A fair amount of shame at the idea of waiting too long and risking the pet becoming pregnant. This has a real impact on people. And I'm so grateful that the people of Vallejo saw this as a serious issue and gave us so much support in the last PB8 cycle.
Yeah, when some of us would table at the farmer's market, this was something that we were approached about all the time. And while it was frustrating, waiting for each PB cycle, it was wonderful when we were able to finally give people the break that they needed. And so there's definitely a demand for this.
Absolutely. So specifically, the Animals Matter grant gave us $75,000 with which was going to be used in this way. We were going to spend $10,000 to spay and neuter HSNB shelter pets. I can say that is a huge part of our budget, because we are facing not the exact same high prices that people are facing in private clinics, but the prices are very substantial. It's a big drain on our budget.
And we don't adopt out unless they're spayed and neutered, obviously.
Exactly. And then we committed $10,000 to spaying and neutering feral cats of Vallejo to cut down that kitten population. And then spay neuter, this is not exactly correct. Spay neuter of adopted pets. This is actually spay neuter of owned pets. Here we're referring to the voucher program for Vallejo pet owners. And then we had set aside $15,000 for the administrative costs of this program. So we received the funding in November 2024. We very quickly spent the money on our HSNB dogs and cats. We spent the money relatively quickly with Community Cat Advocates, which does fantastic work, trapping, neutering, and returning Vallejo cats. And we put in some initial administrative work towards the voucher program to the tune of $3,200. And frankly, we were having a little bit of a hard time getting it off the ground. So when I came onto the board in January 2026, I looked at this and I said, this is the most valuable project that we can be doing for the community. We have the funding. We need to do this. Let's take this on ourselves voluntarily as the board. And by doing this voluntarily, we can also spread the money further, by saving on the admin costs. So here we are, the members of the board. You can see we are all pet owners, lovers, fosters. And the way we did this was we recruited 4 fantastic partner organizations. So I mentioned Community Cat Advocates. They are a powerhouse in Solano County, taking care of so many cats. I'll mention sort of the big public ones first. So Community Cat Advocates, and then SNP, which is the Spay Neuter Imperative Project. They're coming regularly to the Sheriff's Animal Care Services at the Fairfield Shelter. They have a spay neuter bus, basically, and are able to do high volume, low cost spay neuters. And then we have 2 private partners. New All Creatures Veterinary in Vallejo has been a fantastic partner to us. Silverado Veterinary Hospital in Napa likewise has been really terrific. So we have these 4 referral places. Now, one of the aspects that makes this program tick financially is that we were able to negotiate reasonable program rates with the private vet partners. So we set program rates, negotiated rates that were somewhere in between. They were lower than full market value by quite a bit, but also a little bit higher than those at the high volume clinics that do it specifically for public good. Of course, prices vary based on cat versus dog, and whether it's a spay versus neuter, and dog size, and sometimes there are other costs associated with dealing with an older dog who needs more of a workup. Different things come into play. But then we also negotiated in the prices for the vaccines and the microchip insertion, no-show rates, things like that. Our partners have been so fantastic, I can't thank them enough. In terms of the eligibility criteria, the main one is that the pet guardian needs to live in Vallejo, and the pet guardian needs to have had difficulty affording full cost spay-neuter. So when guardians complete their intake forms for us, we ask each one if they're enrolled in a low-income benefits program, such as EBT or Medi-Cal. And to date, of people who have enrolled, 50% are enrolled in a low-income eligibility program. But many pet guardians who come to us are not enrolled in a low-income benefits program, but still express to us and provide a written attestation that spay-neuter is still financially out of reach. And let me tell you, I speak to each of these people face to face, and I have no question about the veracity of what they're telling me when they say, for example, I just took a job at Cal Maritime, it's better for the benefits, it's lower for the pay, I'm living month to month, there is no way I can afford to pay $1,600 to have each of my 3 dogs spayed and neutered. It's never going to happen.
And thanks to Katie's leadership on this, we've actually surpassed our 50% requirement for lower income households. And I learned today that thanks to her efforts, 100% of the people have at least self-attested that they are of low income. So I'm proud of that. And basically how that's worked is because the public has contacted us. And again, with the tabling that we've done at the farmers market and all the outreach, this is just something that we're constantly asked about, including, I want to mention the feral cat problem, which I'm sure you're all aware of. I'm just very particularly proud that we were able to put some of the funds toward that specific project.
Indeed, indeed. So how does it work? The way we've been working is basically we get in immediate contact with people who have reached out to us. We get probably at least 10 people per week calling the shelter and saying, I need help with spay-neuter. Do you do spay-neuter? How can I get affordable spay-neuter? Those are the folks we're helping. They right away are asked to complete an online application for their cats or their dogs or both. They sign a waiver online accepting our referral. I do a video-based intake call with them during which they show me their proof of Vallejo residence, their proof of enrollment in a benefits program, and we discuss a comfortable payment level. All right, so the default rate for a voucher is $50. We have a reduced rate of $20, or if need be, I waive the fee. But I have a conversation with each person, and the majority of people say, yes, I can do $50, yes, I can do 50, thank goodness, like this is an affordable price. But it also happens all the time that they're like, I really can't do $50, but maybe I can do $20. Or I really can't do it at all. And then we say, that's all right, we still want your pet spayed and neutered. We make a referral for each person. So preferentially, we're referring to the high volume events hosted by community cat advocates and SNP because they are the best price for the program dollars. However, we also maintain the flexibility, and we do use our private vet partners, particularly when we're dealing with pets with special health needs or residents with special access needs or urgent or long wait cases whose timing doesn't fit in with a high volume event. And there's not actually a voucher, we call it a voucher program, but really it's an access and referral program. So to date, we started making referrals in February. So far we have served 128 owned pets, 69 cats, 59 dogs. I last calculated the average program costs for pets who had made it all the way through the process. And when we consider what we pay minus the guardian contribution, you can see that the costs have been very affordable relative to what's happening in the open market. So on average, we're paying about $226 per surgery. That's probably gone up, frankly, a little bit because in the period since then, we have been making a few more private referrals. Nonetheless, the point remains that what we are paying is much lower than full market rate. And we've maximized efficiency by running this on a volunteer basis, which has saved us about $12,000 of what we had intended to use for administrative costs. As of today, we have about $23K remaining. Referrals are ongoing. And we have some messages to the City of Vallejo voters from pet guardians who were helped. In a stressful time where the economy is making it hard for people to survive, the service is heaven sent. Life gives us a lot of hard times, and our pets help us get through it. This program really helped our family. We are forever grateful. Please allow this program to help many more. There's so many pets and families in need. Wonderful work. Basically, the need is very strong. The gratitude is very strong. People have been extremely, extremely appreciative. They would love to see this continue. So one thing that I want to talk about with the committee is with the remaining funding. Now, the written intention is for us to use that remaining funding as we have been doing for just owned pets who are calling us and contacting us. However, I do want to draw your attention to something else that's really positive that's happening in town, which is that the Solano County Sheriff's Office, in collaboration with the Fairfield Shelter and the SNP Mobile Clinic, is doing high-volume spay-neuter for pets who belong to homeless residents of Vallejo. So they're actively going into Vallejo's homeless encampments. They're actively rounding up pets, bringing them to a spay-neuter event, returning them with all of their medical needs met to their owners. And that's really important because right now a lot of the puppies especially, a lot of the puppies who are coming into our shelter and the Fairfield shelter are being born in homeless encampments of Vallejo. So I would ask you to consider whether you think it's appropriate to use some of the remaining funds to grant $5,000 would provide them another clinic. Their own funding is ending. It would give them another opportunity to come into Vallejo encampments and care for our pets here. And then another thing we can consider doing is Community Cat Advocates has run through their amount of funding, their $10,000 initially, for trap, neuter, return efforts for Vallejo feral cats. So I would love to hear from you. It doesn't need to be tonight necessarily, but if you think on it and think, where should we focus our efforts? Do you think it's appropriate to put some funds into this homeless encampment project, which I want to be really clear, they can do it better than we can. It doesn't make sense for us to be going into these encampments when they have a system where they're going with the sheriff, they've got the public safety aspect covered, they're doing this very safely and responsibly. So I want to support their work and not try to replicate it. So I welcome your input on that at any point, and that's all I've got. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for your support of this program. The recipients have been extremely grateful.
And we're happy to take questions, of course.
Yes, thank you so much for that report. Do we have any questions? I do see that we may have a question or comment. Commissioner Herrera?
Gracias, and greetings to all our audience. This is an example of how our quality of life in Vallejo is enhanced by participatory budgeting. What I am hearing from our esteemed guests is a program that actually achieved results that really do help our residents. And what I foresee in the future is this example being replicated. I have no comment about what is being asked for, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I see a 12, but I don't know who 12 is.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for the work you're doing. The question I have is, do you have an estimate of how many feral cats Do you have an estimate of how many feral cats could be caught and released and spayed or neutered through the catch
Through the
release
grant that we
program
gave to community
against-
cat advocates, do we have that number?
You know, I wish that I had that number on me. I can tell you what she's paying per cat because it's similar to what we're paying when we have our owned cats. So the rate that she's working at is about $125 per cat. I think it's like $125 for males, $140 for female cats. I can't do the math off the top of my head.
Well, divide
but
that
it
by
gives you-
10,000, yeah.
Exactly.
fair.
Pull out your
Or
phone.
divide 10,000 by that, I should say.
But I would not foresee us giving another 10,000. We could consider another 2,000 or something like that.
Sure.
The SNP program, that's more you book it for a morning. You book a whole morning, covers about 25 dogs is what we did the last time, and it cost $5,000.
Okay. Thank you. I was asking, I'm just thinking, in this case, more is better if we're treating stray or feral cats or dogs. So that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts and questions?
Through the chair, thank you for the outstanding report. But I have questions, and I can do this offline in regards to the homeless and working with the sheriff's program.
Sure,
So if
absolutely.
you have a card, I'd like to, or contact information, I'll get it.
You
from our
absolutely can have my
secretary.
contact information. I do not have a card, but
Okay,
do.
hopefully
great.
Joe does.
Okay, thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
thank you for your work.
All right, well,
Any
thank you
other
for having us
comments
here
or
tonight.
questions?
Yeah, Martin, thank you so much. I appreciate your work in Vallejo and Solano County, and so glad that participatory budgeting can provide some of that funding. And this is, one of the programs that without this kind of support and with participatory budgeting, we wouldn't have these kind of resources within the community. So I want to thank you. I think it's amazing thinking of working with the sheriff and collaborating, being more of a collaborative partner in that aspect. And I'd really like to see how the committee decides to move forward
Sure.
with that. So yeah, I think that's a great approach.
We definitely don't believe in reinventing the wheel, yes.
In what?
In reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, especially if we
And-
can't do something as safely and efficiently.
Is there a timeline that you are thinking about in terms of us giving you direction in, the what you've posited?
Good question.
I can say that my personal goal as a volunteer board member and the current president is that we establish a permanent spay-neuter clinic. Now, it's not related to participatory budgeting, but, well, actually,
It is.
It
It
is.
is.
We actually are working with Jason and others on the spay-neuter clinic. We have a budget of $100,000. Now, we don't have a veterinarian, but as I tell everyone around Vallejo, if we build it, they will come. And if I have to pound the pavement to look for veterinarians who are willing to do it, what I would like to see, and I'm sure Katie will agree, is a permanent, low-cost spay-neuter here at the shelter on the premises. We have the space for a sanitary clinic in our building once we get our permanent building fixed up. So that's already in the works, along with some other stuff. And in fact, we might as well just brag about what participatory budgeting has also done. We've gotten a new roof on our permanent building, and we got the parking lot, which prior to being paved was known as Lake HSNB because of all the potholes. So that's a wonderful result of what's happening. But of course, we're here mostly to talk about the spay-neuter program, but yeah, that's all great stuff. Now, getting a spay-neuter clinic, like I said, by itself is not enough to, get a vet, but we already have a veterinarian on the board, thank goodness. And if we have the space, we could actually save a lot of money for the shelter by, spay-neutering our own pets there, and then opening that up to the public. So I would love to see that, especially because since COVID, there has been such a deficit of not just veterinarians, but the time and the space and clinics for this kind of stuff to happen.
Indeed. So there's not a firm timeline in terms of when you get the response. However, if we look 2 months into the future, for example, it's possible that we will have used the funds
Right.
for the owners who are coming to us. So there may not be the adequate $5,000 remaining if we were to support the homeless encampment project.
We're happy to keep spending it down as long as Vallejo citizens come to us asking for the assistance. Yeah.
That's our default. I'm just
But
going to
we-
keep on working, keep on
Yeah.
scheduling these clinics, keep on treating the people who have already applied.
And I also want to point out that even the $50 and the $20 that we get, we put back into the fund. So not only has Katie saved us a lot of administrative costs by doing the administration herself and not taking from the fund and giving that back to the taxpayers of Vallejo, but even the small amounts that we get, the token amounts that we get, are going to other Vallejo citizens to get it as well.
I have Martin and then Herrera.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just had a question for Staff Secretary around like amendments to contracts, because it's in the same, I remember hearing about something similar in a different cycle where the program was able to reuse the money for something similar within their program, but it wasn't necessarily within that original budget. So I'm wondering if there's a process to do that, or does it need to go through the commission? Or is there something within the contract or budget agreement that can be revised?
There we go. Assuming that that is in the contract, we would need to amend the contract. Yes.
Fair enough.
I did have another comment. I remember one of the previous meetings I attended, if this went through the budgeting process, did you have any concerns that it was voted on to be used in this way? That you repurpose the money for a different purpose based on, I mean, it sounds perfectly reasonable, but I just wanted to throw that back at you. Do you have any recollection of that discussion regarding a different matter altogether? But, you know, when it went out to the voters, when they voted for the money, was that in the proposal? How the
It was
money
always our
going to be
intention,
spent?
when we said that our intention was to serve low-income Vallejo residents, homeless residents of Vallejo were always included in that, in how we pictured using the funds. I can tell you that I've had limited experience, very limited experience, serving at least one homeless resident through our normal program channels. And it's a slightly different ballgame than working with people who are housed. And when I say that, I say, you know, she initially enrolled with 3 male cats, and that was fine. We got them signed right up. But then on the night of the spay-neuter, she could only find one of them because the other 2 were running free. And that was fine, so we took care of the one and had the other 2 on our waiting list. By the time we got to the next spay-neuter clinic, her priorities had changed because she had 2 new female
It
kids.
must be a nightmare. No, I
It's
understand.
right? So now we were
my
focusing on the
question-
kittens, and one of the cats had gone missing anyway, and it's a different level of instability. It's fundamentally
Right.
unstable,
Right.
whereas when we're working with these housed Vallejo people who are low income, who are living month to month, but do have the wherewithal to be looking and calling us and asking for spay-neuter, those folks have excellent follow-through.
My question was,
Yeah.
when it went to the vote, did it include the breakdown that it would be for the vouchers for?
There was nothing in the original, if you're asking that, that we were mandated. But I will like to add that in my years on the board, I have known that some of the best kept animals were from unhoused, and some of the most neglected, emaciated animals brought to us were from people with homes. So we have always proudly served the public regardless of their housing status, of course. But specifically about the PB8 funds, it was more about the provability of 50% of low income And as I mentioned, it's been 100%. That we have not even needed to go out to the public and say, hey, come get your animals spayed, because we get inquiries so frequently from people who are desperate to either surrender because they can't spay neuter, or just because they are in need of the assistance.
That's all I needed to know. So we just need to amend the contract. So based on your decision, if you want to put it on the agenda for a future meeting and have a special meeting if you don't have.
Yeah, it should be an agenda item. But just a point of clarification. So you have already worked with the sheriff's office, right? In terms of getting the resources for the unhoused.
Insofar as using the SNP program, which is a bulk spay neuter, not insofar as going into unhoused encampments. If I understand correctly, Fairfield has done that, and their funding for Fairfield has expired, but the same type of project was proposed with these funds for Vallejo, right?
Yes, we work, well, correct me if I'm wrong, sheriff and animal control, are they?
It's technically the county, yes.
Okay, so we work with animal control on a regular basis. They
Oh,
drop
yeah.
off.
Oh,
They
yeah.
drop off dogs to us daily. This program we came into contact with as we got to know the folks at the Fairfield shelter through various adoption outreach events and going to their shelter for our SNP events. And they have posted it pretty widely on social media as well, this work that they're doing. And let me be clear that even though they are located in Fairfield, when they get these funds for these homeless encampment projects, they're using them, 90% of them in Vallejo, because Vallejo is where even most of their puppies are coming from. So I've been aware of their work from speaking with the woman who does public outreach at Fairfield and who physically goes into these camps along with the sheriff.
And I don't know if everyone on this commission knows the background, but basically we are a no-kill shelter, and we are here in Vallejo. We're 40 years old this year. And basically we were founded because the majority of Solano County lives down here in Vallejo, and even a good Samaritan that found a stray dog wasn't necessarily going to drive up to the Fairfield shelter, where unfortunately sometimes they have to euthanize for space. Now, as Katie mentioned, we work with animal control, and we have a finite number of spaces and resources ourselves. So while the animals that we intake, we are committed to for life to get them adopted and live released, that's obviously not possible for every animal that's brought to our doorstep. So we work with animal control to take the animals up there. Now, if they're microchipped, everyone should get their pets microchipped, cats and dogs, then it's almost a no-brainer. We don't even have to bother take the dog or cat up to Fairfield, because we just make a phone call usually. But yeah, that is where even Vallejo animals will have to go if we don't have enough space. And when people complain to me about not being able to take in more animals, I would say, make a nice big donation, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you. Commissioner Herrera, did you have something to add?
I would like to ask the guests to consider going to the Tuesday night City Hall meeting for public forum. Please mention Cycle 8, how it benefited you, and how that benefited the people of Vallejo. These are the anecdotes that we need right now, considering the update we just had. And I would thank you for your time.
Indeed, thank you.
Yeah, maybe I'll reach out to some of the recipients as well and encourage them to go.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, so can we put on the agenda for next month to discuss this specifically, please?
Yeah, I'll add that to the action calendar for next month.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you again for that wonderful report. It's nice to to know, how everything is being spent, and especially for those who don't have access to resources like this, it's wonderful to hear that PB is helping community, especially marginalized folks in our community. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to go to item 8B on our agenda, report on activities promoting PB Cycle 9 and future outreach planning.
I included again the list of events in the packet just so everyone can be aware of what's coming up on the agenda and out in the public that we could table at. And otherwise, I was just hoping that we could have another discussion about what we've been doing so far and what we look at doing in the future.
Okay. Then I did notice something in terms of the doodle poll. We can't see who is signed up, and now I'm thinking we didn't use doodle poll in the past. It was something else because we could see who. Wait, it was doodle? Is it different now? Like, has it been that long?
It's doodle.
It's doodle poll? Okay.
It's doodle. You can see who actually, you can't see the person. I think it depends on if you look on your phone or computer, but you can see how many people have already voted for that particular date and time slot.
Yeah, see
so
that I
far.
can see, like how many people, but in the past we were able to see like
The person.
who. Yeah.
That might be a setting on my end I can adjust.
Yeah,
So I'll
that
look at
would be
that.
great. If you could do that, please.
Through the chair,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank our staff. We toured Bethel High School on a Monday, and Mr. Ackley was working from home. And we had a stop time that we needed things picked up. So I'd like to thank Mr. Ackley from coming from home to put our to-go box together, and it seems to be working. But we want to recognize you. Thank you so much, because the Bethel students utilized the information and was helpful. The mayor didn't get an opportunity to make an announcement. However, our chair works at Bethel, and so she quickly pivoted